All right, so just a little snippet for those students and those clients who are interested in the healthcare pathway of how you can get started. So you want to take a focus in those STEM classes. So you want to pay attention to your English courses, your medical terminology courses while you're in high school. It'll have a big role once you do your post-secondary portion, whatever that may be for you, college or an apprenticeship program, whichever that may look like for you. And see if you can find a part-time job at your local doctor's office or a hospital or any sort of clinic. You can see if you can find some sort of part-time or volunteer hours at a clinic. And then if you can, partake in an internship in the field of health sciences, which is why you all are here today to learn about some internships in this field. And a really important one is to become CPR and first aid certified, which is fairly simple to do. It's typically a day course. And I do know some high schools are already implementing this in the course. So you may already have the certification through your curriculum. And my favorite one is to interview a professional in the field. So if you are thinking about doing something in healthcare, but you're just like, I don't really know what I want to do. Maybe you want to be a doctor, but maybe you also want to be like a nurse and you're just not sure. The best way to figure out what it is or what part of the industry you want to be in is to hear from the people who are currently in the field and perform like an interview. When I was in high school, I didn't find this quite hard to do. Many professionals typically love to speak about what got them interested into their pathway. So the best way to probably get into it is do like a quick Google search or reach out to your teachers or your counselors. They may already have connections of people who work in the industry. And then lastly, you can complete a personality test to see what career will be a good fit for you. This is another one of my favorite ones to share with students because it helps outline which job would be a best fit for you based on the questions and the answers that you pick for each different question. It'll tell you, hey, you may be like a great veterinarian or you may be a great pediatrician. So it's a great tool to utilize. If you haven't done it yet, I highly recommend to do so. And with the field of healthcare, we know how competitive it is, and it's a very popular field, which also makes it a bit hard to get into and get accepted into certain programs. So it's important that you do have good grades and you do have a good GPA while you're in high school. And volunteer as much as you possibly can at, hospitals, summer camps, clinics. Just try to put in as much hours as you can to help to make your resume stand out as much as possible when you are applying to these schools. And then you also want to seek out community-based opportunities. So again, this doesn't have to be healthcare related. You can volunteer at a food bank or Home for Humanity, helping build homes for families and whatnot. Anything to show that you're extremely involved in your community and you are giving your time to help your community and help people in hospitals and clinics is a really good step and on your application and what these schools and different employers like to see. Okay. And then next, just wanted to make a note about healthcare collaboration. So again, if you want to do something in healthcare, but you're not quite sure what it is, when you do figure out what that pathway may look like for you, it's important that you know your role within your organization and you also know your team players' roles as well. So again, if you wanted to go to school to become like an occupational therapist, it's important to know that your role as an OT and know your coworkers' role as well. But it's also important to note the interdisciplinary group practice. You may not only be working with OTs, you may also work with doctors and nurses and medical assistants and patient care technicians. So that's why it's important that you know your own role within your organization so that you can understand and everybody else's roles. And then healthcare providers include people such as doctors, nurses, patient care technicians, MAs in occupational therapy, also can include physical therapy. The realm it's big. The healthcare field is very big, and what you can do in it is unlimited. All right. All right, and here's just a few links here where you can have some volunteer and community-based activities. So you can volunteer at the American Red Cross, Home for Humanity, like I mentioned earlier, the Central Texas Food Bank, and then Ascension Seton has a volunteer program as well. All right, and we'll be sharing this presentation out with everyone on the call, so you'll be able to click onto these links and access them. Okay, and next, I just wanted to share with you all our targeted occupations list. So the one we're seeing on the screen here is our nursing assistant TOL. And if you see the little eye icon, it's basically telling you that this is something that Workforce Solutions may be able to provide funding for or training for. And we can drop the link to where you can find our TOLs, and we have many different ones that we offer in healthcare. So like I mentioned, some of them we provide funding and assistance with tuition, transportation, and childcare assistance. And then we assess the TOLs on an annual basis. So the last time we looked at this list was last year around this time. And we see which jobs are currently in demand or high demand in the Austin-Travis County region. So nursing assistant was presented as a high demand career for last year. All right, and then we also have our Rework Now website. So this basically shows you the different pathways that we can assist you with and funding as far as post-secondary assistant goes. And we can share all these links with y'all in the chat. Alrighty. All right, I know I kind of said a mouthful, but does anybody have any questions before we jump into our presentations from our panelists this morning? All right, we're all good. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and I'll allow our panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. And once they're finished, we'll move into our first presenter. All right.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in. I'm Ashley King. I am the Director of Healthcare Partnerships at Workforce Solutions Capital Area.
Hi, I'm Corina Cepeda. I am the Workforce Development Executive of Exploring ATX, which is part of the Capital Area Council, Boy Scouts of America.
And I am Cassandra Mosley Dunning, and I'm the Director of Operations and Skills Assimilation at Ascension, Texas.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and move forward. All right, Ashley, just let me know when you're ready to move on.
Sure. So good morning, everyone. I'm glad that you could all make it here. So we do want to talk about a couple of really great opportunities that we have started at Workforce Solutions, working with our Central Texas Healthcare Partnership. So part of what we work on through the collaboration is that we look at what the healthcare environment looks like and where kind of those severe shortage areas are. So when we're looking at it, obviously nursing is always our number one concern, but everything leading up to nursing is also a shortage as well. So medical assistants, patient care techs, those type of situations. And then we also want to take those individuals and upskill them into nursing as well. So kind of creating a pathway where all roads lead to nursing in order to fill those huge shortages. And so one of the opportunities that we were kind of able to produce through help with the Texas Workforce Commission is apprenticeships. When most people think of apprenticeships, they really look back and think about skilled trades and manufacturing, because that's, generally where most apprenticeships programs have started. But really, healthcare lends itself well to apprenticeships because it is basically on-the-job training. And healthcare has been doing that from the very beginning, whether it's nurses, doctors, patient care techs, there is always that clinical aspect to it. And so we have started some new apprenticeship programs, which I want to tell you about today. And just so you guys know, we are working with our partners on these. So, and it doesn't say it on this list, but Baylor, Scott and White, St. David's Healthcare, Austin Regional Clinic, and we also are working with Ascension Seton. So Shannon. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So I just wanted to do just a really brief overview of what an apprenticeship program is. So an apprenticeship works different than just your regular training programs, because you can do a traditional medical assistant program training. You can do a typical patient care tech training. The part of the apprenticeship program that's a little bit different and is kind of a switch in what we have normally done is you are actually hired by the employer. So you pick the employer that you want to go work for, and you get that training while you're on the job. So that's kind of the unique aspect of apprenticeships. On the job training, we talk about earn and learn. Apprenticeship program is just one of those types of models. And so that's actually where the apprenticeship comes. They actually get paid while they're doing their clinical hours, which is, it's a great thing for anyone who can afford to go to a training program on their own and pay for it. And they just need to go ahead and start working as soon as possible. So that's kind of how we come up with apprenticeship programs. It's great for employers because they're the ones doing most of the clinical training. And so they actually get to train those individuals with their style, their way of doing things. And it decreases that kind of ramp up time once they're hired on full time of getting them acclimated to their facility or their setting. Shannon? Why apprenticeship? Same kind of thing. So it's just a unique opportunity. Apprenticeship is one of the big programs that the Texas Workforce Commission is pushing right now. And so there are a lot of grants coming down the pipeway for apprenticeship programs. So we're able to pay for that education aspect of it. We're able to pay for their exam fees. You know, we are working on other grants as well so that we can even do wraparound support services if they need us to pay for scrubs, stethoscope, equipment, that sort of thing as well. So can you go to the next one, Shannon? All right, so we have two different types of programs that we're doing right now for apprenticeships, and these would be for individuals who graduate. So you do have to be 18 in order to do the program. But for those educators out there who have students who are interested in healthcare, but don't really have an aspiration to go to college, or it just isn't the right fit for them, it might be a great opportunity for them. So we have two different programs. One is the medical assistant program. So you get your on-the-job training. So there is no prior experience needed. I know a lot of the high school programs, they do have medical assistant, and some even started patient care tech programs in the high school. This would be a great complement to that. And the students would be a real asset to the facilities. And so they would actually go through the application process. We do have links up for everyone who is hiring for these positions, that they can actually apply directly for the apprenticeship programs. Once they are accepted into that program, they start kind of a half on the job, half training program. And so they start a little bit lower paid than the typical medical assistant or patient care tech because they don't have that certification yet. Both of the programs are anywhere from 9 to 12 weeks for that training for both PCT and medical assistant. Once they pass, finish all of their completion of their training, they'll sit for an exam. Once they pass their exam, they do get bumped up to that full status and take a full role at their facility that they're working at. So medical assistants, they typically work in our clinic level settings. And so they do most of the check-in, they do the vital signs, they do a history with the patient before the doctor comes into the room. And so that's really their main role and goal. And so there is a lot of training on, how to take an intake, how to check blood pressure, how to do a thorough history with the patient before the doctor comes in. And so that really is their training program. And so depending on the program that you enlist for, so we do have a couple of different ones, but the main program that we're recruiting for medical assistant is an online program. And so you would be able to work most of your hours in the clinic, and then you just do the online modules when you are either at nights or weekends, depending on the facility. Everybody's a little bit different. Some of them do have dedicated hours on the job that you would work on the modules. The modules are competency-based, and so you can finish them at your leisure. So however long it takes you to complete that, that's how long the program lasts. So once you get through the material, you do your checkoffs, you are able to move on to the next program, which is nice because everybody kind of learns at their own pace. Plus, if you have gone through a medical assistant program in high school, you can probably work through the modules a little bit more quickly because you will have a lot of that background knowledge. Janet, can you go to the next one, please? And so related technical instruction, there is 156 total hours that's spread out through the program. And again, it's competency-based, so you can do some of it a little bit faster. And then you do have whatever clinic that you're working at, they actually do your checkoffs for your hands-on skills that you need for the job. Okay, Shannon? Then there is a national certification that you sit for, kind of that we talked about earlier. Again, all of the classroom portion, all of the fees and everything is covered by Workforce Solution. All right, Shannon. And then our PCT program is a little bit different, very similar. So PCT stands for Patient Care Tech, and Patient Care Techs typically work only at the hospital level. And so it's kind of that entry level into the hospital, that frontline worker that is kind of taking a lot of the responsibility off of the nurse by helping, to go ahead, check on patients, make sure that their vitals are stable, and just really is kind of like a nursing assistant at the hospital level, and they call it a patient care tech. So it is very similar. You would actually just be applying for a job at a hospital. And once you get assigned, once you get that apprenticeship position, you do your training mostly at the hospital for all of your clinical hours. This is a program that's offered through Austin Community College. And so you do have a classroom portion of this that you go to the classroom 2 days a week, and then you have, or I believe 3 days a week, and then you are at the clinic 2 to 3 days a week, depending on the program. And so again, very similar to the medical assistant program is that you just have sections that you have to get checked off on for your didactic, which is your in-class education. And then you actually do your training and your hands-on checkoffs at the facility that you're going to be working at. And a nurse or a patient care tech does the checking off to make sure that you are advanced in those skills before you take your exam. So Shannon, I think I probably covered most of that. So you might be able to switch through for a couple. Yes, we are able to do that. So go to the next one. And then the national certification exam is all of those costs are covered. So you can go to the next one. All right, so I did just want to tell you a little bit about the process, just because it is kind of a unique situation. Step number one is just getting hired on into that new role and enrolling into the program. Once you have, been selected by the facility, then your apprenticeship actually begins with your training and instruction. You work towards mastering the required competencies and again, getting those checkoffs. Step number 4 is the apprentice sits for the education exam. Once you pass your exam, you actually become a full-fledged certified medical assistant or patient care tech. Great, Shannon, thanks. All right, apprenticeship responsibilities. So again, just maintaining your eligibility for employment, making sure that you complete your coursework in a timely fashion, pass your national exam. And then there is some paperwork that you have to fill out, but we have online forms. We've made it super, super easy. And then the only thing that Workforce Solutions would ask is we might ask you to participate in a success story, because we are knowing there are going to be a lot of success stories with these type of campaigns. Shannon? Perfect. So I know that's a lot of information thrown at you very quickly about a new kind of program, but I just wanted to open it up and see if you guys had any questions before moving on to the next presenter.
Ashley, I have a question. If the student has already taken the patient care tech or the MA exam through NHA, and they passed, how does that weigh in? Do they just go in and do the apprenticeship part and the skills, or do they have to redo the whole thing?
So they wouldn't need to do any of that, Juanita. They would just apply for a regular medical assistant or a patient care tech job at that point. If they've passed their certification, they don't need to be an apprentice for this. If they're more comfortable with it, they can, but they've already passed the exam. So it really wouldn't benefit them as much when they can really just go ahead and apply for that job right out of the gate if they've already passed their exam.
So a student that did not pass would benefit from this very well. Very
Absolutely.
much, right?
Absolutely. They would be a prime candidate, to be honest, because, a lot of them, I know that they go through the patient care tech or medical assistant program, but just don't take the exam. For whatever reason, they might not be confident. They're just not ready. They don't know if it's the path for them. But if they decided to, they already have a lot of background knowledge in it. And it's going to be really easy for them to go through the program, especially the medical assistant, because it is competency based and they can kind of go at their own pace. I would say, definitely they need to go through the process because every facility is going to be different. So they might teach blood pressure, slightly different than your instructors had taught it at the high school. But at the same time, they're already going to be ahead of the curve because they do have a lot of that background knowledge and have done a lot of the coursework already. But it just is going to make them even more confident when they go into it and going to be a really great employee for whatever facility that they do apply for. Any other questions?
Ashley, this is Josh Mitchell from Region 13. I had a question about, kind of like how does the salary structure work? I mean, do the apprentices come in at a certain level and then they get a step in salary when they pass the certification?
That's exactly how it works, Josh. And so one of the main premises behind apprenticeship is that they do want them to be able to get some type of salary while they're getting their education, that earn and learn kind of mentality, so that, they recognize that a lot of people, education isn't necessarily attainable for them unless they can do it while they're working. So this is just kind of one of those scenarios that helps make that attainable. So they do start them off at kind of a lower level since they don't have a certification. Plus, it's probably going to be part-time so they can get through the coursework faster. Once they do get that certification, they do get bumped up in salary. And that is one of the requirements of apprenticeship, is that there is an increase in salary once that they complete their training.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. And just so you know, there's some questions in the chat box.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I was going to read them. Do you want me to read them to you, or you got it, Ashley?
That would be helpful, Shana, if you could just read them.
Yeah, of course. So Lisa Robinson, she asks, is there a way for us to get a list of skills so we can prepare our kids to make great candidates for the apprenticeship program?
Sure. So I would say there isn't necessarily a list of skills, because any of kind of those competencies or checkoffs they're going to get while they're in the program. So I would say that what they really, I hate to say those soft skills, because I don't like to call them that, because they're not soft at all. They're very, very important. But, that dedication to healthcare. So they do have to be caring, to find somebody who is responsible, does have that kind of work mentality. Because let's be honest, medical assistants and patient care techs, it is difficult work. It's so vital to the healthcare system. And so it really just kind of people who are dedicated, who have an interest in healthcare, and again, really move farther into their career. Because again, patient care tech, medical assistant, what we're really trying to focus on is kind of that career path and that, that ladder that we can build them up. So starting them at these entry-level programs and then giving them that additional experience and education to upskill them into higher level healthcare jobs is the
I think we have one more question, actually. Mary, she wants to know, would this program work if it were only available on weekends?
So it probably is not going to work if you're only available on weekends, because it's going to be very difficult to get your hours in the timely manner. Of the two programs, medical assistant lends itself better because it is an online program. But still, a lot of the clinics aren't necessarily open on the weekends in order to get your clinical hours in. And so it's probably not going to be ideal for those type of situations. Every employer is different in what they're looking for, though. So it could potentially be, but I would not recommend the patient care tech, because they do have class during the week. medical assistant, it's probably not going to be able to be completed in that 9 to 12 week period, because you're going to need longer to get your clinical hours in. All right. If there isn't any other questions, I appreciate everybody's time. I will say we do have info sessions every other week on Wednesdays, talking about apprenticeship programs, letting them know who's hiring, when the next cohorts are going to be starting. So I'll be happy to send that information to Shannon so that she can send it out as a follow-up.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thanks, y'all.
So yeah, like as Ashley mentioned, if you do have any other questions for her, just please drop it in the chat box while we move on to our next presenter. All right, so next we have Ascension Seton, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Cassandra, and just let me know when you're ready to move on.
Okay, so thank you, Ashley, for delivering your information. It really falls right in line with what we're doing with the Ascension Seton Summer Camp program. And so I hope there are some opportunities that we can offer as well through the program that might be beneficial for our students. So next, please. Okay, so this is just the flyer that we have out and available for advertisement and marketing with the dates of the camp. We have 4 weeks that we will have an in-person camp this year. As you all know, we're still dealing with the pandemic. So just trending on from last year, we were able to do a hybrid summer camp, and we're excited that this year we'll be able to have a face-to-face camp, assuming everything continues to work out in our community. We have a camp that will take place June 6th through the 9th. That's going to be the first week. So that's going to be coming faster than we believe it, because we're at the end of April. Our second camp is going to be June 20th through the 23rd. And then we have 1 week in July that we're going to have a camp. And then in August, just before school began, we'll have another week. Now, our hours of operation will be 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will be operating Monday through Thursday of each week. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to have some time for the students to enjoy their long weekends when they attend the camps. Next, please.
And this is the video that I have. Do you want me to play it now, Cassandra?
Yes, it's a short video that I'd like for you to play just to give them an idea of what the camp is all about.
Okay, not a problem. Let me switch screens here.
Welcome to Ascension Seton Health Sciences Camp. This 4-day summer camp is a one-of-a-kind learning experience for middle and high school students interested in healthcare. Campers reap the benefits of learning directly from Ascension registered nurses and other healthcare professionals. The camp is facilitated at Ascension Clinical Education Center, also known as the CEC. Located in the Emerging Medical District in downtown Austin, the CEC is a unique facility since it's formerly the Children's Hospital of Austin. On a daily basis, the facility provides training for physicians, nurses, physician residents, Ascension's nurse residents, nursing students, and many other health professionals. The realistic hospital environment, hands-on skills training, and collaboration with field experts provides campers an unparalleled experience. Campers will have the opportunity to learn how public health affects individuals and the community. They participate in healthcare scenarios through interactive techniques and hands-on clinical simulation. They learn and practice a variety of skills, such as physical assessment, phlebotomy, wound care, casting, physical therapy, hand washing, and infection prevention. We welcome all middle and high school students who aspire to work in the healthcare field to attend this exciting and immersive educational summer camp. Ascension is thrilled to prepare, develop, and train the next generation of healthcare professionals. Visit our website, www.seton.net/CEC, and register today.
All right, so in the video, we covered most of everything else, but the point is that this is the 6th year that we've been able to have this camp. I would say, gratification to the community. We've been successful each year, even during the pandemic. It was a success. We were able to meet our goals. And our primary goal in having the camp is to go ahead early to get our students exposed and inspired in the healthcare industry. And so we start with our youth, middle and high school students to get that inspiration going. As I mentioned, it is a 4-day hands-on in-person training this year, and we're really excited about having the students back on campus. It's just a different experience when you're there in hands-on with an opportunity to learn, right on the spot. Again, it's facilitated by RNs and other healthcare professionals. Next, please. And as mentioned in the video, some of the activities that will be covered where the students will learn and have hands-on experience is physical assessments, wound care. They'll learn about phlebotomy, casting and splinting, some physical therapy. Ideally, we've all had to learn how to wash our hands over the last 2 years, so they'll learn how to wash it in a healthcare environment, infection prevention, and other hands-on simulation opportunities. Our targeted audience is our middle and high school students, which we are very excited to include. Each session, we have a limit of 40 students per session. And the tuition for the camp is $500 for our non-Ascension and $475 for associates that work for Ascension today. And as mentioned in the video, this is our website. We will have some opportunities for students to receive scholarships, and we're really excited about that. This year, we have more than we've had in the past. And basically what a student would need to do is just write a 1-page essay, and it's reviewed by our healthcare professionals, and then they will make the decision on who will be selected. Next slide, please. This is just a picture of the end of summer where students were adorned in their outfits and doing the work. Any questions for anyone that you'd like to ask about the program? All right, then we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at our summer camp program. Again, it starts the first week in June. If there's any questions that you might have, feel free to reach out to us through the website that's been given. All right, we look forward to it. So please share the news, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cassandra.
Sure.
All right, if anyone thinks of any questions, please go ahead and drop it into the chat and we'll move forward over to Karina, and let me know when you're ready to move forward.
Sure. Thank you, Shannon. So hi, and again, thank you, everybody. If you're still with us, thank you for hanging out and joining us today. My presentation is going to be a little bit different because it is meant to cover a lot of different interests and speak to students' passions, but we do have an opportunity to get students that are mildly interested or curious about healthcare careers in medicine to get great hands-on opportunity that is led by professionals. Go ahead and move on to the next slide. So one of the things I'd like to ask our students here today, and also our professionals, is how do you decide what you want to do for your career? You know, we already heard about these amazing apprenticeships and camps that we can do with our community partners But there's always the question about how does a student decide while you're still in middle school or high school, what you really want to spend your time on. Go ahead and click on that little spin wheel. It's going to open up a whole bunch of things. There are so many careers that we may not be aware of or how they work in the greater ecosystem for as far as what our role is and how we fit in. So I would like to take a moment right now, whether you are a student, an educator, one of our panelists or professional partners that are with us today, and think about what you wanted to do when you were about 15 years old. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to your university days. And if you're anything like me, you might have switched your major a couple of times, and that's okay. Then think about where you are today. Did you know what you would be doing today when you were still in high school? And those of you that are students, what are some of the careers or occupations that you're most curious about, whether they are in healthcare or engineering or science or construction or skilled trades? Go ahead and drop those into the chat, because we really like to take the temperature on where are students' thoughts today and what are the things they're most curious about? And then how do we as an organization and with our partnerships create those learning opportunities for all of our students? So go ahead and drop those into the chat. And for our professionals and adults in the call, go ahead and drop what you wanted to be when you were 15 years old and also what you are doing today, just to keep those in mind as we move on to the next slide. So while we do that in the chat, I want to give a little bit about what the Exploring program is. It really does exist to teach skills, career skills, and core skills to all of our students. We serve high school students starting age 14 to 20, where the training and the experience can be more vocational. We are actually learning how to be an EMT or a paramedic. You're also learning about different career and education opportunities that you can be taking advantage of as early as 14 years old. But we also serve our middle school students. We understand that these days, middle school students are being asked as early as 8th grade to decide, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? What type of education pathways might you want to take? And so in the middle school years, which we'll talk a little bit again later, it really is meant to be exploratory. It's meant to give you a variety of experiences and hands-on learning at a lot of different cool facilities, so you can do a better assessment about what's next for you as you progress in your education and secondary education. Next slide. For our educators here, we do have 5 areas of emphasis for our Exploring program. We definitely want to highlight career opportunities for students. We also want to give them opportunities to sharpen their leadership skills. We give them opportunities to think about life skills and how their current hobbies and interests relate to future careers. We talk about citizenship because every Explorer unit has the opportunity to complete service hours. And that's that all-important element that you're able to gain with your peers that you can put on your resumes, as Shannon was highlighting earlier. Those are very important aspects to padding your resume and your college application to show that you have some lived experiences in giving back to your community, showing care and understanding your role as a citizen, whatever career you go into, but especially in healthcare when you're caring for others. And the character education goes hand in hand with that. We definitely want to help students understand how values matter in the workplace and how we can better sharpen our skills and how to be a better employee, a citizen, and a member of our community. Next slide. The 3 pillars that you're going to get as a student in Exploring are going to be career talk presentations, both virtual and live with real professionals, work site visits, which means that we get to take you out of the classroom and into some really cool spaces that you may never have been in before. And I'm going to show you some pictures after this, I promise. Lesson plans are already pre-built for any of our partners that want to support you through Exploring. We've already got you covered. Now, we do partner to create custom plans depending on the career path. For example, for medical assisting or healthcare, we do take into account what the professionals already know how to do, but we can supplement that with our pre-made curriculum and lessons. So you definitely do not need to start from scratch. And for the students that are explorers, we definitely take into account your feedback and your questions about what you most want to learn, and we're able to integrate them into your Explorer experience. Shannon, next slide. Benefits of Exploring. There's a lot of benefits, and we can listen here, as you can see on the slide. But the biggest thing to me, the biggest takeaway is that we want to give students an opportunity to find out. And find out not just in theory, but find out by going and completing hands-on worksite visits, interviewing professionals that are already doing these really cool jobs every single day, and also be able to discover new pathways that they never thought of before. Next slide. So I always love to show off pictures of my local explorers over the past few years doing some really cool things. And there's a lot going on in this picture, and there's so much here you don't even see. But to summarize, we've got kids training how to be firefighters, how to do rescue, how to do phlebotomy, how to prepare for surgery, how to be a police officer. We've got students at Texas State, which is my alma mater, receiving recognition awards for their service hours that they completed as medical explorers. We've got students completing VR training at Samsung and at Applied Materials. And we've got students doing, on the bottom left-hand corner, we've got some of our medical explorers actually working the COVID drive-through testing sites down in San Marcos and also in Travis County during the year. Is just some of their giving back and also their hands-on learning that they're able to complete in the older youth program, which is the post age 14 to 20. Next slide. Right here, we see some amazing activities going on. These are all our explorers. Some of them are actually happening at some of our partners that are with us today at Ascension and Seton. But what this is showing is a lot of our explorers learning different hands-on skills that it takes to, for example, perform a surgery, proper hand washing, as we mentioned earlier, modeling, and being able to do robotic surgery with the Da Vinci robot. It's just a way to give you an idea of if you want to pursue this path, or if you've never considered this path, there's just some of the cool things that you get to do as an explorer to be able to figure out if this is right for you. Next slide. And this slide, I love to show some of our STEM and tech. And the reason this is important for this conversation is because a lot of the technology is hidden from our professionals. So if you're in patient care as a doctor or a nurse and a frontline responder, you may not always be aware of the greater ecosystem of all the technology that happens. And this may be something that gets your interest into medicine because maybe you don't like the sight of blood, and that's okay. But maybe you do have an interest and a talent in technology. Well, we can show you that too. At this particular visit, we were at the UT J.J. Pickle Research Center, and they had a whole day of learning about nanotechnologies, about robotics, and all kinds of really cool things about what it takes to run a robot that could eventually become a robot surgeon. The idea being that we have an opportunity for students to learn the behind the scenes aspects of a lot of different careers, and we do it in a hands-on year-round program. Next slide. So like I said earlier, we definitely want to pay attention to what's happening in our middle school years. So with our partnership through Austin Community College and other partners in the community, we are able to offer middle school exploring. And this is really meant to bridge that gap between career awareness that happens early on when you're in elementary years to high school and beyond to post-secondary, whether you go into a trade, an amazing apprenticeship, or you go to university. Those middle school years, those can be some tough years. You're being asked to figure out who you are and what you want to be and what you want to do. Well, we want to help bridge that gap by giving you an exploring club experience. Next slide. Next slide. So we have built with Austin Community College, the ACC Career Explorers Club 2021. This is a club that you can join today if you're in middle school, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, ages 10 to 13. And what this club is meant to do is meant to serve any student who has an interest in learning about different careers to be able to do so. Through our partnership with Austin Community College, we were able to create really cool experiences and get kids into these really interesting places. And you also have monthly meetings where virtually you can log in from anywhere that you are, anywhere you're at school during after school hours, and learn from professionals, whether it's a career talk or it's from the people at ACC and the professionals that run the program, talking directly to you in a live conversation where you can ask questions about maybe what classes you should take, or maybe all you want to ask is, why do I have to do this math? How is this going to help me in the career that I'm interested in? Well, these career club explorations are meant to help you answer those questions from the people that are already doing the work every single day. And how to join this club is going to be going out with our resources after this presentation. Next slide, Shannon. Here's just a little bit of information about how it's going to run, but this will come to you which is the club times and the Zoom to log into, and also the schedule of our worksite visits will be going out to you when you register for the club. Next slide. So in partnership, again, with ACC, and to give more students an opportunity to get into the Career Club, we are partnering to funnel students into the ACC Career Awareness Camp. This is for middle school years, but we do have something for the high school kids coming up. These are your opportunity to explore careers in healthcare, information technologies, and advanced manufacturing. Those are target occupations that are happening, and we have a forecast of the opportunities that are coming into our local jobs market. So we have these custom camps that are going to happen at different ACC campuses. The schedule is on the screen, but it will also go out with our follow-up resources. There is no cost to attend these camps, but registration has to happen by May 27th. That's not a lot of time. So if you're even remotely interested in any of these camps and spending time doing some really cool things in a really cool space with your peers and you're in middle school, definitely register or get the word out to your students about how they can register for these camps. It could be all of the camps, it could be just a few of them. This is something that we're able to do through our Explorers program. You do not have to be an Explorer, full disclaimer, but we do hope that the outcome is that every student who participates in one of these camps does register to become an Explorer so that we can continue the experience in a year-round setting. So we don't limit it to just the really cool things you'll be doing at the camp. We want to make sure that we keep up with you and that we offer you a full year-round program that goes into next year. Next slide. So one of the ways people ask, well, how do you get these worksite visits? We've gone to Samsung, we've gone to Applied Materials, we go to the movie studios, we're going to A&M in a couple of weeks. It's through our what I call Exploring Career Connection, these worksite visits. And we do have a site that you can register for them. These visits are free, and the intention is to join Exploring, because just like our camps that we just talked about, the point is that you come to one of our really cool career connections, whether you're building robots or you are learning how to make a commercial or a movie, or you're learning how the engine works in a race car out at CODA, it will inspire you as a student to become an Explorer and stay connected in a year-round basis. Next slide. I always love to show off, to put my money where my mouth is about some of the really cool experiences that our students have had a chance to. So this is not even a third of all of the really amazing people who have given their time to learn how to talk to students at the right age level, how to talk about their careers, how to share their personal stories, and how to advise students in a mentorship capacity about how to achieve their success. So we've had everybody from Albion Bowers, who's one of only 12 NASA chief scientists engaged with our students in live conversations. We've had Dr. Marmolejo at ACC, who's running their amazing engineering program, to construction leaders at Spyglass, to Joshua Dunham from Microsoft, to our own Dr. Buchanan at ACC, who gives so much of her time to giving students a different outlook, to our own Chief Amanda Baker of Austin Travis EMS, who actually runs the program and teaches students how to become a medical responder through their program. Next slide. Again, some of the things that we've been able to do this year just to show students, these are things that are real students, your peers and friends in our community who have done some really cool hands-on learning through Explorers. We are touring water facility treatments centers that has to do with public health. We are learning from doctors and nurses. We are meeting the river bat over at ACC doing that tour, and we're building robots in a competitive setting. That event was sponsored by Atos, that was an amazing day of competitive robot building. So you can try it out, whether you're in a robotics team at your school or not. That was a really cool way to build some robots, win some really cool prizes, and learn if maybe robotics is a path that you want to pursue. Next slide. So coming up this weekend on Saturday, I know it's a short lead up, but join us. Come out to meet Travis County Judge Barrera to learn about careers in law and government. It is going to be hosted by the judge. We are going to get on site. We do get to interview him, ask him questions. He is an elected official, so he will answer your questions. He's going to tour us, and he's going to give the students an idea of how our judiciary system works and tour the courthouse. I know this is not healthcare, but this is just another opportunity to learn about different careers that may be of interest to you. And you know what? If you want to, ask them about how our judicial system affects the healthcare that we give people. That might be an interesting question to ask the judge. Next slide, please. After that, on May 7th, very quickly, we are going out to A&M. Now, this is something that they're hosting as a university. We're going to specifically visit the Texas A&M College of Medicine. We're going to meet up there as an Explorer group. Lunch will be provided. So if you're interested in that, please join us. You can go on your own, but going as a group with your peers is just much more fun. And I'm going to be there, and I can be pretty fun. And we can ask more questions. We can also work with each other to figure out, well, what are the questions that we didn't ask or they didn't cover? So come as an explorer and join us on that visit. The way to register, which again is on our Exploring Career Connections site, will be sent out to everybody after our presentation. Next slide. So currently accepting, you don't have to wait to become an explorer. There are multiple units in our community looking for you right now. We have Austin Fire Department, Acadian Ambulance that's on in Bastrop, Explorer Post 132. The City of Austin Code Department is building a unit that will launch in the fall. They are looking for students right now. You may have seen some of their flyers or newsletters in the City of Austin. They've got a really great program plan for our youth. They've got Central Texas STEM Explorers. Those are the ones that you see at Samsung or Prime Materials. We're going to be touring Tesla. We're going to be touring Google. If you have any past interest in technology or how all of that tech affects healthcare and medicine, go ahead and join that unit. We're doing some really cool exploratory visits. Round Rock Police Departments is looking for explorers, Austin Travis EMS, and also ACC Career Clubs 2021. All of these units are currently accepting new explorers. We do keep enrollment open as much as possible year round so that we get a well-rounded experience. So please feel free to jump into any of these units at any time. You will get connected with professionals because these are all led by the firefighters, led by the doctors, led by the tech professionals that do this cool work every single day. And you can get a different type of experience about what it's like to do these careers and also how to get there. That wraps up my main presentation. So what questions do you have for me? You can ask them to me by unmuting yourself, or you can drop them into the chat. Thank you, Jessica, for dropping the Career Connections link into the chat. If you're interested in participating in those, again, there is no cost to participate, but we do hope that you become an explorer so we can track your experience and your success. Hopefully, a lot of these will lead into you pursuing an apprenticeship, where we can get you going on that path as early as middle school or more vocational as early as 14.
Anybody else have any other questions for Karina? All right, well, feel free to drop any questions you may have into the chat for her. While we continue to close out our presentation, she can answer anything that you may have. And let's just go ahead and move forward. And thank you all to our presenters. That was a lot of information I was just soaking up over here. So we have a slide deck for some spring updates. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley King to see if she has any updates she'll like to share with the audience.
Thanks, Shannon. Just a quick update. We are going to be having a CTE directors meeting next month, I believe on the 12th. I want to say, I might be wrong about that, but they all should have received an email about that, which we will be talking about fall clinical placements. I also did want to kind of give a brief update. So the hospitals have kind of reached out. I did reach out to see if their volunteer services were back up and running yet. Most of them are still 18 and older, but they have reopened volunteers for the hospital setting. So if you have seniors that are looking for, something to do this summer and want to participate, you go to the individual hospital websites to find those volunteer forms.
Thank you, Ashley.
Absolutely.
All right, and just some quick announcements from Workforce Solutions. So we still are rolling out our teacher externship program. We are accepting a few more educators. So if you're a teacher, a counselor, if you work directly with students, we highly encourage you to register for our summer externship program for this summer. And For this, it will be a week-long externship, and you will receive a $500 stipend for participating. All we ask is that you submit your lesson plan to us, and then the stipend will be released to you. And we have employers in the field of skilled trades, healthcare, manufacturing, and a bit of other miscellaneous employers in there as well. And if you're an employer who's on the call who would like to host any of our participants, such as our teachers or our counselors for this externship, we can drop the links to where teachers can register and where employers can express interest for participating in this event. So you can learn more information about this opportunity. And next, I have a career training on here. So we offer different training. As I mentioned earlier, we have our targeted occupations list where Workforce Solutions can offer you funding or give you different trainings based on eligibility. So for more information about that, the phone number is on the screen there. And again, we can drop the link to our targeted occupations list inside the chat again for you, just so that you can have another look at it and see the different programs that Workforce Solutions can provide funding for. All right. And here's just that link again with all those resources that I shared earlier in our presentation. So the first one is our Climb the Ladder CTX website. And this is actually where you can find those TOLs, the target occupations list. And you can also find some other great resources such as our workbooks, resume assistance, interview assistant preps, and things like that. And again, the American Red Cross link is on here, as well as the Home for Humanity, the Central Texas Food Bank. And as Ashley mentioned, hospitals are back up and running with their volunteering, and Ascension Seton has their volunteer link right here on the screen for you, which I will share with you all at the end of this presentation. All right. And then here's our contact information. So if you do find yourself having some questions after this presentation that you couldn't think of this morning, definitely feel free to reach out to myself, Ashley King, or Jessica Garay, who's on the call with us this morning, with any questions you may have, and we'll try to answer them for you or point you in the right direction. Alrighty, so we're gearing up to our last slide here. So I just do want to thank everyone on the call this morning, our audience, for joining us and engaging with our panelists this morning. Thank you for joining, and thank you for our panelists for being on this call and sharing great opportunities with our students, our clients, our educators, and everyone on the call. I kind of wish I can do some of these summer opportunities because they sound really great. And I just also want to make another note that this will be our last healthcare webinar for, not for this school year, but for the summer. This is our last one. We'll join back again in August. So we'll see y'all again in August, highlighting another pathway in healthcare. If you would like to stay in the know of when exactly that next healthcare webinar will be, I highly encourage you to follow us on our social media channel, where we'll post upcoming events, our upcoming webinars, any career fairs that we may be hosting. All our updates will be posted directly through our social media channel. And like I mentioned earlier, this video will be posted on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to view it at a later time, follow us there at WFS Capital Area. And again, if you need help with the resume or information about careers and training, Career Ladder at WFS Capital Area is our email address. And that is it for this morning. Again, thank you all for being here and have a great Tuesday.